It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. Here, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Before we get into the show, once again, I want to thank first those of y'all that have voted for me in the Global Citizen Festival submission. They're voting for the performer who's going to get out there in New York. So far, y'all have shown up, and yesterday I was in 17th place. Today I am in first. Okay, now we still have another day of voting. You have one free daily vote. So if you have the time or the wherewithal to vote for me once again to keep me in the lead, that will be greatly appreciated so that we can try to, I don't know what's going to happen in the next round. I don't know how they're doing this necessarily. They haven't broken that down for us, but I do know I am in the lead with about a day and some change left to go into the next stage. All right. So I greatly appreciate y'all. If you have not voted or if you want to vote again, the link is in the description. It will also be in the chat for y'all. Okay. Now let's get into Joe Budden and of course the Joe Budden podcast. And they've come out and addressed this whole Def Jam, Pusha T, Clipse situation, right? And for anybody that's familiar with Joe Budden's rap career, then you would know that he actually was signed to Def Jam. Pump It Up came out through Def Jam. Focus came out through Def Jam. The features that he did with, what was that song? We be up in the club like, all that shit. Def Jam. Okay. Now, despite the fact that Pump It Up is still a relevant song today, as folks try to joke about it, it's still a hit. The beat is still fire as fuck. Shout out to Just Blaze. His self-titled album, Joe Budden, actually is a certified gold album. All right. So it's not like it was not successful. It just got certified, which I think was a mistake. I think they had probably just stopped keeping track of it, but I think it was gold a long time ago. Not to mention Pump It Up should be multi-platinum with all the TV shows and everything and movies that it was used in, but things got messy back then. Okay. Joe also had label woes with Def Jam during his heyday, during the prime of his career, mainly because he couldn't get his second album out. He released the self-titled Joe Budden, and he had a second album called The Growth that was supposed to come out, but for whatever reason, it never saw the light of day, which forced him to go and do the Mood Music mixtape series, in which he started taking shots at Jay-Z, all this other type of stuff. So things got a little crazy over there. But it took years for him to finally get off the label. So now, of course, with this coming out, he's speaking to it. He speaks briefly upon other artists that were under the Def Jam umbrella that also had issues with them in more recent years than himself. We're going to get into that. And we're also going to get into this post that he put up. We're actually going to address it first on his Instagram story, actually hearkening back to his troubles with Def Jam, just to let people know, hey, y'all the Clipse ain't the first ones to go through it. You get what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and pull up this story that Joe put up of an article that kind of outlined his label woes with the very same company. All right, so they say Joe Budden pointed out the same pattern on IG. Def Jam hasn't changed. They dropped him despite a gold album and Grammy nod. They did the same to Pusha T because he refused to take Kendrick off his album. He stood his ground and they dropped him too. Can't wait for Tuesday Pod. Tuesday Pod came out, of course, because today is Wednesday, and we're going to play audio from that. But first, look at this here. Joe Budden versus Def Jam Records. Okay, upon signing with Def Jam Records in 2002, Joe Budden was touted as a future cornerstone of the label. Less than 5 years later, after releasing a gold certified self-titled debut album and a Grammy nomination, the New Jersey Rep was unceremoniously jettisoned, leaving him a free agent in the prime years of his career. The rift between Budden and the label began during the recording of his intended sophomore album, The Growth, which was rejected by Def Jam. despite the fact they held a listening session for the project due to creative differences. So they even went as far as having listening sessions for the album. Typically, an artist does not have a listening session for the album unless it's completed, ready to go, and they have a date locked in. All right. So even back then, they did all this. They were forward facing. The growth was getting promoted in magazines. I know this very intimately because I was a young one buying The Source. I was buying Double XL at the time. I was buying Scratch magazines at the time. And I remember the promo for the growth. And then one day the promo just stopped. Okay. And they claimed it was creative differences. Initially, voicing his displeasure with the label, the Pump It Up rapper ultimately took matters into his own hands, unleashing the first 2 installments of his Mood Music mixtape series, which helped sustain his buzz amid the lack of a proper release date for his sophomore effort. In October 2007, it was announced that Budden had officially been let go by the label. So you got to think, he signed to Def Jam in 2002. His debut album comes out in 2003, and he sat on the shelf until 2007. That's 4 years of his life and career, good years where he was probably making some of his best solo music. You know what I'm saying? I still listen to self-titled Joe Budden. 10 Minutes is still fire to this day. Walk With Me is still fire to this day. I know a lot of people try to play him because of his opinions and his stance on different things, but the nigga music, I can't take that away from him. All right. Now, that's that. That's his personal gripes. Now, let's go ahead and pull up the audio of Joe talking about the Clipse situation and Def Jam as a whole in their current state and where they've been standing in music for over a decade.
Or that. I like that.
I've been calling them Def Jam.
Now, I try to chill because I used to know good people working over there. I don't know who's over there now. I know they broke down, consolidated, and picked it back up, and they made some type of new group now with all of Mercury and Island and yada, yada, yada. We'll get to that. But Def Jam did Big Sean wrong, Tiana wrong, even though she's still over there. Who else they did wrong? Crit, Joe Budden. Def Jam without Ludacris and Ja and DMX and LL and that Def Jam ain't Def Jam. So why everybody get all of that? The record player with the needle on the post that I have fucking tattooed on me, them days are long gone. Why anybody is surprised that Def Jam did some anti-hip-hop shit, I'm shocked by it. But I'm not. They've done a good job with marketing themselves as the hip-hoppiest hip-hop label, and that just has not been the truth for quite some time. So it don't shock me that they said in the middle of litigation, hey, no Kendrick, even though he is a universal act.
Well, I think they wanted to censor him, and they refused. So they wanted to take the song off, and they refused. So they came up with, hey, just let us go. And that was problematic because Pusha is also signed there as a solo artist. So,
well, that's where I want to reserve some of my Def Jam vitriol. If that story is true, that means that they released them.
They did. They did release them. Yeah. Which is, I mean...
So we want to applaud Def Jam for... Because I wouldn't have done that.
No way. No way.
I wouldn't have released you.
No.
Now, I will interject here. This podcast was recorded yesterday. I think they do their podcast like real early in the morning. So I think this podcast was recorded before Stephen Victor's interview with Billboard came out, where they, specified that it was a 7-figure payout and all of this type of stuff. Also, I hate that I didn't get to mention it yesterday, but I get to bring it back today. It sounds like what Def Jam actually did to the Clipse and Pusha T is what is known in the industry as a sunset clause. All right. Now, a sunset clause is basically when you in your agreement with somebody early. I've gone through this, or I almost went through this. My attorney helped me evade this, but I had somebody threaten me with it. A sunset clause of you in your agreement with somebody, whether that be a label, management, or whomever it may be. You end it early before the term is actually set to expire. And that person wants you to pay out anything that you owe them, plus they want to get a percentage of whatever it is that you make moving forward for a specific certain amount of time. That time could be 12 months, 18 months, 36 months, whatever it is that y'all, agree on, or whatever, they say, hey, this is what it is. This is what it's got to be. Now, what they ended up doing over at Def Jam, to my knowledge, I haven't seen the paperwork for myself, right? But from what Steven Victor said is that it's only for the album and it's for future profits on the album based on a certain percentage. Now, we don't know what that percentage is. Maybe 5, 10, 15, 20%. I don't know of whatever this album brings in. And I don't know where the expiration term ends, where Def Jam will stop being, joined in on the revenue made off of the Let God Sort 'Em Out project. Like, I don't know if that's a forever thing or if it's you can reap financial benefits off of this project for the first 2 years and then we take you off of it. I don't know the dynamics of that part. But I did want to interject on this part because they're talking about applauding Def Jam for letting them go. But that was actually, released before we got more information about what it actually took in order for them to get that release. They weren't just amicably released scot-free. Pusha T had to come out of pocket for at least 7 figures, which is a minimum of $1 million. All right. So I'm going to let them continue from here.
Find another way with your little verse.
Yeah. So they're just afraid that any mention
Everything
or
is
subliminal.
Everything is open for interpretation.
The
during
mere
litigation.
appearance on there, I guess, scared them off.
Just Kendrick's appearance alone
It's going to do something.
No, Kendrick's appearance
Kendrick
in
next to
combination
Pusha T.
with Pusha T,
Gotcha.
who are the two people that
It's incendiary.
defeated Drake in a battle.
I understand.
And we in the middle of a potential 10-figure lawsuit against this man.
Yeah.
I'm going to proceed on the side of caution.
You're going to cost us money.
Yeah. They are already literally, supposedly, some billions is being tossed around as a potential settlement. Nigga, I'm not playing them games. So you can feel how you want to feel on a sentimental side, but this is business.
I also want to interject on Mr. Ish here because he's never fully informed about anything they talk about. The so-called millions or billions that people are talking about in terms of a settlement, it's lies. It's actually a lie that's been circulated by your rival podcast from Maul. He's about the only person on the internet claiming that Drake is going to get some sort of settlement payout from UMG. All of the paperwork says all settlement talks have been completely ruled out of question. They have no interest. Both parties, by the way, no settlement. They haven't even discussed it. So I just wanted to jump in on that as well.
And sometimes we get the two conflated. Like, fam, I'm making the best decision for our business, not for your project and your art.
So they left Def Jam and went to Rock Nation?
Yes.
That's interesting.
They left Def Jam. They were shopping the album around and eventually partnered up with Rock Nation for distribution.
Got it.
So it's like a distro deal with them.
How normal is this in the business that a label will step in and do this?
Step in and what, like censor?
Censor?
Yeah, till somebody take you off the verse.
Yeah.
Get them off the verse.
This is not from my era of hip hop.
That just didn't happen then.
Artists didn't have that much power back then.
I got some firsthand knowledge.
Some did.
Very few.
Some did, but that didn't.
Some do today.
That didn't go on. Well, yeah.
It still only is.
I feel like usually these type of things would be like an A&R decision. This artist isn't hot enough or whatever reason. We don't want this artist on there. This might be the first time I've experienced or witnessed them censoring for
a big artist.
Yeah, taking a bigger artist than the album is.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of you having the biggest rapper in the game feature and the label you're on saying no thank you.
I don't know if it's just the Def Jam position that this is coming from. And I say that because I've heard firsthand that there has been edits made to or verses taken, verses removed, came down strictly from a certain artist.
Yeah.
Yo, I need y'all. That can't go on that album.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned it. They mentioned the Rick Ross.
There's some other
record.
ones.
Yeah.
There's
I'm
some
sure
other. There's some
ones,
other
yeah.
records that I was told he did the same thing to.
So Ice from the Joe Budden podcast, he's implying that even outside of the records that we know about, Maybach Music 6 and the Paranoia record with Pop Smoke, he's saying there's even more to be discovered about verses that got moved around, taken off, silenced, etc. by Drake in the background because of certain people that may have been considered ops in the industry. And he came in and put the pressure on people basically to say, hey, that can't happen. That verse ain't going to fly. Because now you got, again, you got people that have relationships with Drake, or at least they used to, right? During the time periods when these things were happening. And, you know, behind the scenes, phone calls are being made. Like, yo, this nigga just sent this verse in, or he just recorded this verse. He talking like this. I just want to give you heads up, you know, ahead of time before my album comes out that this is what's going to be on it. It's not necessarily something I'm co-signing, but I reached out to get that feature, and I want to keep the feature, but, you know, let me know how you feeling, big dog. And nigga say, nah, don't do that. You want to keep working with me? You want to get a feature on your next project? You want me to help you with your rollout? You want me to bring you on tour? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain different things that he can hold over a person's head to say, hey, if the benefits that come from being fly with me ain't enough for you, go ahead and rock with that. But if you want to still be able to come around here and you want to think about your future, don't just think about this album. What about your next album? What about 5 years from now? I'll be here, but if you end up on the wrong side of the tracks, I won't. Right? So then people have to make decisions based on business and what's going to work in the long run, and, you know, start thinking about, okay, this ultimately feeds my family. I can't take it off. You know what I mean? They call their motherfucking engineer, delete all that shit. They're like, man, the song is hard. I know it's hard. Send me a copy to my email, but delete it. Drake is unhappy. Fucking ridiculous.
Yo, this can't happen. And if you don't do this, I'll make it up by doing something for y'all. You scratch my back by getting this off of this album, I'll scratch your back.
You're saying this is Drake?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Do you think that?
I think it's UMG.
But that could be acting from him.
It's still...
Yeah. If I could pick up a phone call and call a head over here, yo, dead that.
I'd have more respect if it was UMG, though. Like, because then it feels like a business move and you just have to do it. If another artist just calls you and says, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, take this, I don't want that verse in there. Yeah, I don't respect that as much. That's all I'm saying.
I
just think that's power.
I agree with that too, but I was just about to say, I think that he's an anomaly, or he's one of a selected few groups of artists where he ain't moving like an artist no more. He moving like a business and like a brand. And if you're going to say some shit that could be potentially disparaging to me, I got the big boy power to shelf your shit.
Remember back when...
I don't think that's new.
Remember back when 50 was beefing with the Locks? And he said, one more word out your mouth, I'll push style shit back. Like, I had power at Universal.
He was saying that.
I mean, excuse me, at Interscope.
Yeah.
50 used to say, my name is Curtis Interscope Jackson. When I lean, the building leans. So Drake has that power. Not just at Universal. I think it's further. Well, I don't know today.
Today, it might not reach as far.
Before, I don't think it was just at Universal. I think he had that power across hip-hop, period. I could make a phone call. I don't like that. Fix it.
I like Kendrick clearing his verse for this Clipse project no matter what label it comes out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's not a given. So
I was about to say, that's
not a given.
I didn't know that.
I could be clearing you because you over there. The second that you go over there, I could put a nix to all of that.
That's true.
So he cleared it twice. Wherever you end up with it. So now imagine that. I get to negotiate my new terms
Again,
with a Kendrick verse.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know everybody gonna run to it to hit. Now they really want it. That's the best promo for this.
It's like when Wayne looked out for me on She Don't Put It Down, boy.
Def Jam so fucking stupid. The biggest draw in hip hop right now. This nigga's on a stadium run tour. Now, of course, this was last year when everything happened. So this is before the tour. This is before GNX came out, because I believe they said that all of the shit hit the fan in July of last year. So this is like right after the pop out. Right after it's right after the pop out. Not Like Us is already out. Not Like Us video is out. So this is at the height of Drake making phone calls to UMG. Like, yo, y'all need to take that song down. Y'all need to mute that PDF stuff. Y'all need to make the necessary modifications in order to appease what it is, because I will sue. And UMG was like, we don't know what you're talking about. You got in a rap battle, you wanted to sling mud, and you came out the dirtiest. This is exactly what your daddy or your stepdaddy told you not to do years ago. You wanted to do it. You thought you was ready for the battle. Now you mad because your white tee got mud on it. Fuck you. Right? But the problem is, by July, he's already getting his lawyers involved. They're sending emails. They're doing all this shit. You're not going to pressure Lucian. Lucian is standing pretty firm. But at the same time, Def Jam, which is a separate entity underneath UMG, right? So they have to appease UMG. So I don't even know if UMG was necessarily making the call. It feels like Def Jam was just scared. Like, shit, if UMG is having issues with Drake, if he's willing to go at it head to head with Lucian himself, what the fuck is he going to do over here? And we're trying to rebuild. So I think Def Jam had cold feet the whole time, because they like, man, fuck that. If he's shaking the table with the bosses, what's he going to do over here with us? And we're not in a position to negotiate with this nigga, because we ain't been hot in so long. So they basically then put the squeeze on Pusha and the Clipse. And ultimately what they don't get is that this was the best thing that could ever happen to the Clipse. We get a whole new independent situation with a Kendrick Lamar verse. This nigga done put out a crazy hit album. He's on the biggest tour, possibly the biggest tour in hip hop history when it's all said and done. We get to roll out our album in the midst of him being on that tour. So his name is still in conversation every day. This is the most that Kendrick has been like a daily topic. You know what I'm saying? Because Kendrick has been famous. Kendrick has been a top charting artist, top selling artist, all of that. But 2024, 25, in my memory, is the first time that Kendrick Lamar has been like a daily topic, right? A daily YouTube topic, a daily, like, if he takes a picture, it's coming out and it's spreading like wildfire. If he says what's up to somebody in the crowd, that clip is going like crazy. This is the first time I've seen it like that. You know what I'm saying? So they get to drop their album in the midst of all that. They have a verse of him addressing a State of the Union type verse, which basically means everybody's going to stop what they're doing, tune in and see what the fuck does Kendrick have on his mind. And they get to have ownership of that and cash in on that. Like, yeah, fuck Def Jam. Take the little couple, you know what I mean? Couple million or whatever it is. We're going to make that back. And you could bet your ass Clipse is finna tour they goddamn self going into the summer and fall. So just wins on top of wins. And like Joe said at the end, you know, kudos to Kendrick for staying down. Regardless of where the project ends up, y'all have my blessing to put it out. It ain't about no check. It ain't about no funny business. It ain't about no I scratch your back, I scratch yours. It ain't about no verse for a verse, because Kendrick don't hardly get features for nobody on nothing anyway. You know what I'm saying? GNX was primarily West Coast artists that we maybe knew of and didn't really know of. So It ain't like he's looking for a Pusha T verse on his next album, although that would be crazy too. So it's like, bruh, we just locked in. I fuck with you. We've had a good relationship throughout my whole career. Y'all got it. It's a no-brainer. I love how all this ended up coming out. You know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that Def Jam is being exposed for the pussyfooting ass niggas that they are with all this coming out too. Joe talked about the mismanagement of Big Sean. Big Sean has been on Def Jam for a very long time, but the last few years of him fucking with them, they haven't added and contributed anything additional to his career. He's about, I would say he's in a worse position than he was fucking 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Makes no sense to even continue that relationship. I hope he gets the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? I'm waiting on him to drop a new song on all digital platforms so I can see where that shit lands at. I know he's, still technically managed by Roc Nation because I know they said that he left Roc Nation, but the manager that he got is still affiliated with the company. But that Def Jam shit ain't the wave. You know what I'm saying? Joe threw Big Crit in there. They completely mismanaged Big Crit's career for damn near 7-8 years. You know what I'm saying? You had basically the fucking heir apparent to Outkast, Goody Mob, and fucking UGK all wrapped up in one person, and y'all didn't know how to market him. Y'all didn't give him the support. Y'all didn't allow him to make the creative decisions that he wanted to for the best possible outcome. Y'all didn't want to extend the budgets for Big Crit. Now he hardly even gets brought up in conversation when fucking 10 years ago, he was one of the main guys that was in the conversation of like, who's finna be hot shit out this bitch. And he kind of stayed quiet about his issues over there, but he did come out and say, when he asked for his papers, they basically they didn't really give him a lot of pushback because it was almost like they didn't even want him no more. Crazy shit, man. So, respect to all the people over there at Def Jam that are good people. I don't know, you know what I mean? And maybe some people that I know that have gotten work over there, done some good things and made some money over there. Respect to y'all. But as a company, I ain't fucked with Def Jam in a very long time. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm gonna keep it all the way a buck. Every time I see an artist sign over there, I ask, why? I turn into motherfucking Jadakiss and Anthony Hamilton. Why you gotta do me like that? But let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Become an insider. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace. King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit on my almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef on computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. But drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but you run no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.